you realize that because of the US ambitions, we are one step away from an arms race that cannot be controlled or regulated in any way?
The United States will not remain a party to a treaty that is deliberately violated by Russia.
If this depended only on us, we would not have reached this dangerous situation.
The United States is taking the necessary steps to address the threat posed by intermediate-range missile forces being deployed in ever larger numbers by Russia and China.
What about you? Are you going to evade responsibility for what is happening? Will future generations forgive you for this?
Russia's present actions are in line with a pattern of aggression that represents a clear threat to international peace and security.
The Russian Federation bears the sole responsibility for the recent demise of the INF Treaty.
Do you not understand that by your response to the Americans, you are returning to a historical situation when missiles were targeting European cities from different sides?
Well, it was a heated debate at the United Nations Security Council. Now, the United States has recently withdrawn from the INF Treaty, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Agreement, and not only has the USA withdrawn from the treaty, but the USA recently tested a missile that would have been a violation of that treaty had it still been in effect. Many are viewing this as an escalation of a potential new arms race between Russia and the United States. Now, when the representative of the United States spoke to the Security Council, they accused Russia of being responsible for the agreement's demise. This is the U.S. representative.
We're here today because the Russian Federation preferred a world in which the United States continued to fulfill its INF Treaty obligations, while the Russian Federation did not. We've heard a narrative today that the United States had itself been in violation of the INF Treaty because of our recent flight test, which used the Mk-41 launcher that is also found in our Aegis Ashore missile defense system. This is categorically false.
Now, Russia emphasized that its concerns about the Mk-41 launcher have been proven to be indeed correct, and that this launcher could easily be tested and transformed into the Tomahawk missiles that were recently tested by the United States. And those missiles do indeed violate the treaty. Now, Russia, which had been accused of having violated the INF Treaty, had repeatedly requested that inspectors come to Russia and see if indeed these allegations from U.S. leaders were true. However, the United Nations and the United States ignored their requests to defend themselves against these allegations of violating the INF Treaty. Russia asked for dialogue around the issue, and this dialogue was ignored. Here's some of what we heard from the Russian representative.
In accusing Russia, the United States and the countries that support it are ignoring facts and common sense. We proposed a closed-door meeting to look at our missile of this class and give full information to convince them that it did not violate the treaty, but they refused. We cannot understand the arguments from the US, but we do want to save the treaty.
China was also subject to U.S. allegations at the Security Council. The United States accused China of boosting its military arsenal as well. China responded that it was not correct for the United States to withdraw from the treaty, and that blaming China for their decision was not honest or correct either. This is the Chinese representative addressing the Security Council.
The INF Treaty is of great importance to not only the US and Russia, but to global peace and security. It is unacceptable to use China as an excuse for leaving the treaty. China rejects the baseless accusations from the US.
Now, the INF Treaty was signed in 1987. It was a key moment in the de-escalation and ultimate end of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. And the recent decision of the United States to withdraw from that treaty has many concerned about the potential for a new nuclear arms race. Now, many hoped that the meeting could be the opening of dialogue toward restoring some kind of treaty regarding intermediate-range nuclear forces, missiles, and such. However, while a lot of accusations were exchanged, no real consensus seems to have existed among the countries represented at the UN Security Council.
Praise be to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Rakakadash. The Bohana to Zegde and Apostle of Gikemison, peace, blessing, salutation to Zakiam, who are pushing this truth to the four corners of the globe. So you see the devils inside that room, they are fighting each other. the kingdom of Esau is divided, man. And this is an indicator, a great indicator that these devils are going to fall, man. Because some America is saying this, Germany is saying this, even China is saying this, man. They are throwing stone at each other, man. So this kingdom is one step before it fall, man. Let's go and get some scripture. This is Matthew 12 and 24. And Yahushua knew their thought, and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? See? So these devils are divided themselves, man, and they're about to fall, man. And we need to know one thing, man. America will be hit by 200 million missiles, man. And right now, Russia and America don't even have 2,000 missiles combined together, according to researchers, man. I don't know if that is true or they are lying, but this arms race need to come, man, so that America can be nuked with 200 million missiles, man. And this is arms race. No, this arms race is from Yahushua, man. Let me, I'm looking for one scripture here. This is John, St. John 1, verse 3. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. And everything which is happening now, which happened back then, they are made through Yahushua, man. Even this arms race, man, which is coming, it have been sanctioned by Yahushua, man. So that to reach that number, 200 million missiles, if I'm not mistaken. So I will be reading from the book of Revelation 9, starting at verse 15. And the four angels were risen, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay a said party of men. A said party of men represent men, the Edomite, man. If you didn't know, as a ruling class in China, those are Edomite, man. Edomite in Moab scheme, man. And in Japan, there are those the imperial, those people who masquerade as kings there. In Japan, they are called the imperialist Japan. Those are Edomite in Ammon scheme, man. So this Edomite are everywhere. Edomite are in Middle East. Those ruling class in Saudi Arabia, those are Edomite, man. So the third part of men will be killed, which mainly it will involve the Edomite, man. Verse 16. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. This is 200 million missiles, man. So in order to reach that number, don't you think we need an arms race? So this is a perfect time where every nation will be producing missiles like crazy, man. And they will be turned against one another, man. But a great portion of those missiles will be used to nuke America off the map. So if you didn't know this horseman, go and look. Brothers have done a video on that, man. This horseman represent the nuclear missiles, man. Verse 17, and thus I saw the horse in the vision, them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and jealousy. We have talked about that, man. When is a nuclear head enter into atmosphere, we call it the re-entry phase, man. They move in a high velocity to the extent that as a missile head start burning with fire, man, and it turn red, and the missile head is coated by metals which so that it can't burn completely, man. The metals which are resistant to high temperature, man. But the missiles turn red, nevertheless. That's the Janus. Go and Google Janus. It is red. And the brimstone in the head of the horse were the head of lion, symbolizing strength, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By this, Siri was the said part of men killed by the fire, by the smoke, and by brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. And I uploaded a video talking about after nuclear missiles, we won't have sunlight for at least a decade, man. 10 years. What does that mean, man? That means a mushroom cloud will be staying on the atmosphere for the longest, man. That's why in verse 18 it tells the said part were killed by fire. That symbolizes that lake of fire which will be brought by those missiles. The smoke which will ascend, this smoke will stay for a long time. And in that article which I uploaded in that video, they were talking, this expert, that through that smoke which will ascend to the atmosphere, we won't be having rain, man. I hope that destruction won't find me on ground zero, man. I hope that I will be among the elect and I will be beamed up to the firmament, man, so that I won't have to suffocate with smokes, brimstone, and that fire, man. You see? So that's what it is coming. Arms race, man. In order for nation to have 200 million missiles, we need an arms race, man. That is not a normal number, man. That's a red number, man. So this arms race was coming anyway, and this is a perfect time, man. I wanted to do a quick impromptu. I hope you brothers are unified. On to the next.